Hi, this is fraud detection agent. This video I am going to demo you this finance fraud detection agent. So it's basically finding anomalous transaction. So given this parameter, for example, it will generate 100 transactions, and I will out of that 100 transaction, 5 of that transaction will be anomalous. So, and then I'm gonna, for randomization, I have a seed of 42, you can change it, 41. And detection rules, if Z score is 3 or greater than 3, then that would be, that transaction will be considered as anomaly. So the threshold is 1000. Okay, so why do we need this application, and how we produce or how we detect a fraud? So for example, in a normal transactions, for example, if you have an average, or we consider as normal, $50 are the normal transaction amount for a certain group of profile. For example, this kind of group, normally you spend $50, and then suddenly you will have a data from that group that the transaction amount is $100 or $150, right? So you're gonna subtract the difference between the normal, which is 50, and the new transaction that are the subject to investigate, right? So 150 minus 50 divided by, if we have a standard deviation and average or standard deviation of transaction amount, like $20. So 150 minus 50 divide by $20, that's your Z score. So if your Z score, in this case, if it is greater than 3, that will be considered as fraud. So why do we use that? This is our Z score are the popular way of detecting fraud, because you can measure how many deviation it is measured based on the normal values. So yeah, so it's also, we can also detect the temporal or velocity features. For example, if the transaction time are too rapid, that means anomalous, or maybe a contextual. So from that group of profile, it doesn't match between those profiles on the transaction. For example, the contexts are too far from the normal context of that particular group. So that would be considered as fraud. Now, in this application, I generated 100 based on this definition here. We have channel, card, online, ACH, and then based on injected profile, we can say 7. Okay, so these are the injected flag transaction with Z score of 262, which is normal, nor near 3 to 36 based on the definition. And the Z score of the other transaction are 0.99, negative 0.45. So these are normal. So let's say one of the flag transaction is TX067. Transaction TX067. Okay, so let's have an explanation. This is the default explanation. TX67 transfer, it was flagged because Z score is above 3. Amount 1000, above 1000. Large transfer of withdrawal. Z score is 557 on that one. So 557. So that are anomalous. If we use LLM to interpret the context, you can try using Llama 3.2. Depending on your Olamo setup, you will have a different model here. But for simplicity, let's use Llama 3.2. And then let's see how Llama will summarize the context. So it says here that transaction 67, given these factors, the finance team should take following action: verify authenticity, investigate source of funds, review the transaction history, considering escalating to the case. So this is the finance fraud detection agent will work. So if you are a student or trying to do some fraud detection, this is the best use case to study, and you can download the source code from my GitHub channel. You go to the description of the video and download the code. Thank you.